There have been plenty of successful stand-up comedians, but few who've managed to do what Kevin Hart has. In addition to becoming a bankable movie star, he's also built an entertainment and business empire. And in March, at 44, he was awarded the Mark Twain Prize for American Humor, as close to a Lifetime Achievement Award as you can get. Hart's comedy isn't particularly controversial. It's conversational, with a lot of cursing thrown in. He tells revealing stories about his wife and 4 kids, his embarrassing insecurities, and his many shortcomings. On stage, Kevin Hart is an open book, but when we sat down with him earlier this year, on one topic at least, he was a bit hard to pin down. GQ said you're 5'5", the LA Times says you're 5'4", and some other place said you were 5'2".
Well, that place is bullshit. GQ finally got it right.
5'5".
5'5".
All right.
5'5", like with a shoe on, like a sneaker. Now, if I put a boot on, I can get to 5'5.5".
Kevin Hart has been telling tall tales about himself on stage for more than 2 decades.
43 years old. I've been 5'5" my whole life, 5'4", 5'2.5" my whole life.
It's talking about the things that you aren't afraid to laugh at about yourself. I'm really confident that the laugh that I'm getting, you're not laughing necessarily at me as if I'm a joke. You're laughing at the experience. I'm giving you an experience through a story that is relatable. And more importantly, I'm saying things that other people just don't have the heart to say.
I mean, you told a story about your wife watching tall people porn.
Yeah, he was taller than me.
That was your main issue?
Yeah. Why is he so tall? Is that what you want? That was real. We had a real conversation off of that. Is that what you're looking for? If your search starts with tall...
You can't fix that.
Yeah, no, I can't fix that. We got a problem.
One of the sites wasn't even porn. One of the sites was a bunch of tall men being active. They were changing light bulbs, putting it on shelves, hanging paintings. What kind of sick is this? What the is this? She was like, what? You can't do none of that stuff. I like that stuff.
Hart is the highest grossing comedian today. He sells out arenas around the world and the occasional football stadium.
We sold a football stadium out tonight, so I need to hear that.
The wall is full of great comedians.
When we first met him in January at his offices in Los Angeles, he was working on new material for an upcoming comedy tour. To do an hour comedy special, how long does it take? How many?
For me to really work on a set, 8 to 9 months.
Are you sitting in a room with your team?
No. I'm going back to ground zero.
Just small comedy clubs,
Small comedy clubs, rooms. So I got 2 guys, Harry Ratchford, Joey Wells. They act as my writers. And what they do is they grab my material as I say it. But you can't write it down for me. Like I don't like the long jokes or the long sentences. Mm-hmm. So it has to be in bullet points. Travel, bad. Bad travel. Why bad travel makes me drive. Driving. Good versus bad. Everything has a good and a bad. My rule is when I get on stage, I would much rather have the dismantled picture in my head of kind of what I think it is and it not be good and then figure it out in real time and walk off stage and go, it was something there.
A few hours later, 3,000 people showed up in Pasadena to hear Hart figure out his new jokes on stage. Everyone had to hand over their phones. Before he began, Hart explained why.
Like 90% of what I'm gonna do tonight, I feel like is really good. The reason why I took your phones is because of the other 10%, right? Like, just in case. Just in case some of it's not, you don't have no proof.
We agreed not to record any of his routine either, but backstage we found his collaborators, Harry Ratchford and Joey Wells, taking a lot of notes.
I appreciate y'all. I'm Kevin Hart. I love you. Good night.
How was this audience?
This audience was great. Great. Like, you could feel the laughter never stop. That's the beauty of a theater. The theater lets you really feel the highs and lows of a set.
There's so much that he wants to do.
Joey Wells and Harry Ratchford, along with comedians Will Spank Horton and Naeem Lynn, are among Hart's closest friends. They're also known professionally as the Plastic Cup Boys. What are you actually looking for when he's on a stage and telling a joke? What notes do you have?
Harry is always structured.
Yeah.
We should put the joke here and move it around. And for me, I'm always just like, how can it be just a little funnier? And he might get a standing ovation. I go, that was great. But what if you tried this?
Yeah.
Spank and Naeem have known Hart since he was a teenager, growing up in a rough neighborhood in North Philadelphia.
Was Kevin always as confident as he is today?
Yes. I mean, it was perplexing in the beginning. Like, why does this little ugly dude have this much confidence? I didn't get it.
North Philly.
Yeah.
I don't know what he thinks he's doing. He swears he can dance.
Home movies his mom made show Hart was always the family entertainer. He lived in a one-bedroom apartment with his brother Robert and his mom, Nancy Hart. She kept a close eye on Kevin.
She planned every moment of your day.
I had no free time. After finishing my homework, I had to get to swim practice. Me and my mom would walk home from practice. The homework that I was supposed to do beforehand, she would go over and check and end up making me redo it, because 9 times out of 10, I rushed through it just to get it done. She would then make me read, and I would skip pages, not expecting the quiz of the book to come
Which she
on
would
the
give
back
you.
half, which she would give me when I said I was done, and then she would make me read it again.
Do you credit her with the drive you have?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
His mom also kept Kevin's dad, Henry Witherspoon, at a distance. He was in and out of prison and addicted to drugs, which Hart talked about in a 2011 stand-up special called Laugh at My Pain.
I was in a weird, spelling bees, debates. Now, here's the thing. My dad would show up at my events and treat them as if they were athletic events. First of all, you can't cheer for no kid at a spelling bee. It's a spelling bee. It's quiet. I'm focused. I'm in the middle of spelling a very difficult word. My dad shows up late, busts through the back door, high as hell, making cokehead noises, all right? Once again, I cannot make this up, all right? This is all I heard. I'm in the middle of spelling some. Out of nowhere, all I heard was, all right. Yeah!
The actual details of stuff he did are really heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And yet, you tell it in a way that's funny. Is it heartbreaking to you?
No, because
It must have been at the time.
I see it for what it was. As a kid, that's dad. By the way, in my environment, that's the norm. It's normal to see a parent drunk or whatever.
Your dad, even in the depths of his drug use, he wanted to see you and your brother.
Absolutely. There was a period where he disappeared, but I didn't see him in a long time. And I saw him on the subway, and he was in bad shape. And I was like, Dad? He turned around and saw me, and doors opened, my dad walked off and ran. Later told me I ran because it just hurt me for you to see me like that, and that was one of his key factors into going and getting help.
Hart was eventually able to help his dad get clean before he died in 2022.
My dad is crazy.
Kevin said his father loved to hear the stories he told about him in front of thousands of people.
So we talk about my dad, we celebrate my dad.
But when Hart started doing stand-up at 18, he struggled to find places to perform.
And you would take gigs wherever you could get them.
Like, you're talking bowling alleys, you're talking cabarets, strip clubs. I did
Is there a
play
lot
strip
of
clubs.
comedy in strip clubs?
No, and it's a white thing, there's a lot, no. I don't know who thought that comedy and strippers mix. But I remember one of the most heartbreaking moments for me on stage is like, in the middle of my set.
This was at a strip club.
And I remember hearing this lady going, oh, baby.
After you told the joke.
Oh, baby. like basically. So disgusted and heartbroken that this is what I chose to do with my life.
Hart thought he was about to make it big when he shot a sitcom for ABC called The Big House in 2003. The network flew him out to the upfronts to present the show to advertisers and the media.
I'm next to walk on stage so they can announce The Big House. You're the guy with the microphone that's backstage managing the... This is what I see. He's right here. I'm with him. All right, I'll tell him right now. Kevin, hold up 1 second. They just said they're not going to go through or pick it up. Somebody should be back here to talk to you shortly. What does that mean?
The guy with the microphone is telling you that your series is not being picked up by the network.
Not the network exec.
Not the CEO of Disney coming out saying, hey.
No. A guy named Barry in the back holding the curtain.
It was only because of that rejection.
I don't want to feel that. I don't like that you gotta hire me when you're ready. You're saying that my career is basically determined off of the needs of people that I don't know and that I don't talk to, I might be sitting here all day. If I don't go grab it and I don't go make what I feel should be mine.
And that is what he did. He started a small production company, now called Heartbeat, and began making his own hour-long stand-up specials. He also marketed himself relentlessly through social media. Freeze! Hollywood studios took notice.
Get on my back!
What? I would rather die.
Jump on my back!
Nope, I'm gonna die.
Let me down!
Kevin, what's up?
When he was picked in 2018 to host the Oscars, it seemed like a high point in his career.
I have nothing against gay people.
But then comments he made about gay people years earlier on stage and on Twitter caused controversy.
But me being a heterosexual male, if I can prevent my son from being gay, I will.
Hart stepped down as the Oscars host.
Initially, you didn't apologize. Later on, you did.
Well, later on, the understanding came from the best light bulb ever. Wanda Sykes said, there's people that are being hurt today because of comments like the ones that you made then. And there's people that will think that it's okay to make those comments today based off of what you did then. It was presented to me in a way where I couldn't ignore that. So in those moments of despair, great understanding and education can't come out of it if you're given the opportunity.
Cool.
These days, it's hard to keep track of all the businesses Hart has a hand in. The weekend we spent with him, he was in constant motion and promotion, starting with his daily pre-dawn workout.
60 minutes. Is this what you want? Huh? This what you want? I'm gonna give you what you want. So the good thing is that we make it out of here, Andy.
Then he was off to Walmart to publicize a nutrition supplement company he owns.
To reach people.
Finally, you're
Thank
a real
you.
person.
I am.
He's also got a fast food chain, a tequila brand, and a $100 million venture capital fund.
Cheers.
And Heartbeat, that little production company he started, is now worth more than $650 million.
I'm no longer just a comedian. I'm an investment. I'm a studio. I'm a partner looking for partnerships. Work for hire is not in my best interest if it's a one and done situation.
That means the endless stream of movies, shows, podcasts, and commercials Kevin Hart pops up in. Chances are Heartbeat is making money off them, too.
Even my stunt double has a stunt double.
Are you a billionaire yet?
None of your business, and he's trying to get me robbed. He's trying to get me knocked
But
in
I
my
mean,
goddamn...
look, you will be a billionaire.
I mean, hopefully. And even if I don't, or if I'm not, I think the better side to what I've done is create what can become the new norm for other people in the business of funny, for other people in the business of entertainment, right? Not just being a part of the business, but learning and understanding how to be the business.
In the world of comedy, the saying goes, satire is something that closes on Saturday night. But as we first said last April, that hasn't proven true for Jon Stewart, who's found success in poking fun at politics, media, and even in recent months, the excesses of national security. His satirical coverage of the 2000 election earned him a prestigious Peabody Award. Since then, he and his staff have also picked up an Emmy Award for their writing. Stewart's daily show on Comedy Central Cable is not coincidentally in direct competition with the 11 o'clock news in most of the country, and its sharp, edgy humor is stealing an audience.
From Comedy Central's World News headquarters in New York, the most important television program ever.
It is television news's evil, demented twin, so full of itself it almost looks real. At a time when more and more news broadcasts are produced as entertainment, Jon Stewart anchors an entertainment show disguised as news.
Bill Clinton's new Manhattan office to cost taxpayers millions. It's one more reason why I am not a taxpayer.
With a nod and a wink, Stewart and his team of reporters deconstruct the day's events and personalities and have a go at all of the conventions of television news itself, like Sweeps Week hype.
You can't see it, you can't touch it, but it affects millions of American children. It's gravity, and it's reached epidemic proportions.
I think why this works is there's a real frustration out there with the aggregate assaultive effect of television news. If you were to watch television news, you would think we are in not only a deep economic depression, but a rampant crime wave. And not only that, that your children are not safe from bacteria that may or may not be growing in your bathroom.
You don't have to go too far to satirize it.
No. Finally, it was time to hear from the man himself.
Social Security has been called the third rail of American politics, the one you're not supposed to touch because it might shock you. But if you don't touch it, you cannot fix it. And I intend to fix it.
Does that mean you're going to touch it?
Jon Stewart is smart, which is one of the first things you notice about him.
I would have tidied up, but I... Hey, this is...
The second is that his bare brick office looks like a senior dorm room on Sunday morning.
You guys want a gumball?
But as the co-executive producer and managing editor, he oversees almost as many correspondents, producers, and writers as many real news broadcasts.
This is your cigarette substitute?
Yeah, pretty much.
Do you have like a news desk here that reads the wires every minute? And
we're completely fake. We go by, if somebody's got CNN on in their office and they go, guys, get in here, you're not going to believe this.
But you do watch CNN.
Oh, yeah. We keep our TV probably tuned to mostly CNN. And, you know, if we want fair reporting, then Fox. You know, they report and we decide. I don't know if you knew that. We're really good that way. You check facts. We would never think to do that. To check actual facts. That's just not something that would ever occur to us.
What doesn't matter?
Exactly. We have no credibility issue because we have absolutely no credibility.
So it's no problem to cover the Clinton pardon investigation by standing in a far corner of the studio with a picture of the Capitol electronically imposed behind them.
This is a bombshell. Some here in Washington believe the presidential pardon of Mr. Rich was granted in part because of all the money donated to the Clintons by Mrs. Rich.
Steve, that happens all the time in Washington. That's how it runs.
It does? Well, why doesn't anybody do anything about it?
It was last summer when they were dispatched to the political conventions that Stewart and his crew moved from cult pleasure to cable hit. The Daily Show and a political convention seemed to be made for each other.
We're a fake news organization covering a fake news event. Did you go to the conventions?
No.
Rightfully so. Because it's their promotional ad for the party. We, as a fake news organization, should have been the only ones there. But there were like 15,000 of you guys just walking around. Ah, you believe these guys? It's a whole big song and dance. Well, then leave. We think it's goofy. We're staying.
Big catch. Senator Lieberman. I'm sorry. I thought you were somebody else. Have you had a chance to go to Disney World?
Actually, I didn't make it on this.
Did you have a chance to go to Universal Studios?
No, I missed those fundraisers.
Have you had a chance to lie to Congress?
How are Democrats going to improve our public school system in the United States?
With busier families, more single-parent families, the great need is to revolutionize public schools so they help families with their most important responsibility, which is raising their children.
No, seriously.
That's why we're for preschool, after school. That's why we're for more computers in
There's
schools.
Barbara Streisand. I gotta go.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Senator Lieberman.
Yes.
By the end of the second convention, not only did everyone know who they were playing along.
Well, why'd you come to the convention? I mean, I come for two reasons. I come for the food, I come to wear makeup.
William Bennett asked me for my autograph for his kid. You've seen the show. If you were William Bennett, would you even talk to me? Ladies and gentlemen, The Daily Show.
Stewart's correspondents are all experienced comedy veterans. Vance DeGeneres wrote TV sitcoms. Stephen Colbert started with Second City TV. Mo Rocca once wrote news for a PBS children's show. And Stephen Carell and Nancy Walls, who are married to each other, have both worked on Saturday Night Live.
The correspondents on the show are very good.
Unbelievable. I mean, the one thing that I realized early on is if this show's funny, through and through, I win. Whether I have anything to do with it or not, I'll win.
Yeah, I don't have too much with the Rich thing.
At The Daily Show, Stewart polishes jokes with his boss, Madeline Smithberg, who created the show, and with the staff of writers.
Hey, what's up?
And he is in and out of editing rooms.
But there's a new sheriff in town, and he aims to change all that.
He screens every piece,
I would only use just a touch of him.
critiquing and doctoring the script.
We were in the editing room and we were watching one of your reporters walk down the street, and there was something really wonderful about the way, about his walk, about his smirk, about the furrowed brow.
They go to the same school you guys have gone to. It's that sort of, that manufactured emotion that comes from having to go from a tragic ocean disaster where 90 people were lost to, and we'll meet a dog and you won't believe how much he loves ice cream.
Jon Stewart was born Jonathan Stewart Leibowitz 38 years ago and raised near Trenton, New Jersey, before going off to William and Mary. He started out studying chemistry, but after 2 years switched to psychology.
But apparently there's a right and wrong answer in chemistry, whereas in psychology, you can say whatever you want as long as you write 5 pages.
He took that psychology degree and became a bartender, then chucked it all to set out for New York City, hoping to make it on the comedy club circuit. Instead, he found himself waiting tables while waiting for a break.
Why did you change your name?
Leibowitz sounded too Hollywood.
Did you think of quitting?
Quitting? I wasn't even in it. I don't think you can quit something before you're
Stopping.
in it.
I mean, you just say,
I
I'm
thought
never
of
going to do this
stopping
again.
every day for 4 years, the first 4 years.
What was your big break?
I don't know that there, I mean, I don't know that there is such a thing.
Are you still working in a restaurant? I mean, you got a break.
It's funny you mentioned that. Bennigan's. The big break for me was deciding this was my life, was deciding that no matter what, hell or high water, no turning back, I'm going to do this and get as good at it as I can get. We're thrilled to have you here.
And what Stewart's best at is a brand of political satire that's made him a household name to Americans under 30, many of whom, believe it or not, get most of their news from late-night comedians, a fact politicians have been quick to recognize.
And being on here has given me new status with my children.
During the New Hampshire primary, Senator John McCain let correspondent Steve Carell ride aboard the Straight Talk Express.
So Carell goes on the McCain Express, and he's giving him, favorite movie, favorite dish, favorite color.
Your favorite book?
For Whom the Bell Tolls.
How do you reconcile the fact that you were one of the most vocal critics of pork barrel politics, and yet, while you were chairman of the Commerce Committee, that committee set a record for unauthorized appropriations? I'm just kidding. I don't even know what that means.
You have all sorts of journalists that come on your program. You have all sorts of politicians who come on your program.
Right.
They watch it. They know what it is. What do you make of it? I mean, it's almost like an acknowledgement that that their world is filled with.
Sure. Who loves more than to come on and go, "You're right, kid. We're full of hot air." Wink. And then go back to running the world.
And all this popularity has made him a sought-after speaker on college campuses. At Northwestern, the Hillel Society paid him 5 figures for his take on Jewish culture.
I never understood why Jews and blacks don't get along. We've just expressed our sufferings differently as people. Blacks developed the blues. Jews complained, we just never thought of putting it to music. It's very simple.
Stewart seems to save his sharpest barbs for the news business itself, which he believes is becoming more and more a promotional tool for its corporate owners.
And here's the amazing coincidence.
And he took due notice when ABC's owner, Disney, invested in an internet company, and then its sock puppet spokesman serenaded Diane Sawyer on Good Morning America.
Diane, you're 3 times the lady, and I love you.
At that moment, Ms. Sawyer teared up. Not from the song, but from the shattered dream that was her legitimate journalism career. It's about the system. It's not about the people who populate it. Does that make sense?
But what is it about the system?
Is that like any system? It cannot be effective once it gets away from what its goal and heart should be, which is to present you with information to inform you and to help you. Once you become us, once you became a competitive industry in the same respects as entertainment, now you're borrowing from the way we used to sell the Sonny and Cher show in the 70s. You know, how can that not be a farce when you're talking about news? Am I going to be fired? Am I part of the CBS family? Do you know? Can I be fired for this?
Are you part of the CBS News family?
I don't know.
Actually, in the course of doing this story, we found out he almost is. Comedy Central is owned by a company called Comedy Partners, which is a joint venture between AOL Time Warner and Viacom, the same company that owns CBS.
It's one joint venture. See? We're all going to get fired by the same guy one day, and it's going to be like a freaky, it's like a crossbreed genetic between like Dolly the sheep and one of Murdoch's kids, and it'll just rule AOL, Time, Viacom, Warner synergy.
With the elections over and a new president in office, where is the next big story? The same place as the last one, New Hampshire, where they're already projecting the 2004 voting trends. After all, the next primary and punchline is only 3.5 years away. Regardless of who wins the upcoming election, one of the biggest winners thus far in the presidential campaign has been Jon Stewart. He seems to be everywhere. His daily show on Comedy Central has become must-see television for news junkies and politicians alike. Now he's kicked up some dust by going after the shouting matches that pass themselves off as cable news. In a boilerplate campaign of prefabricated speeches and talking points, Jon Stewart is never on message. And when things get too serious, he's America's favorite political commentator.
What's your favorite moment of the campaign so far?
Just every moment with Dick Cheney has been my favorite. Here's what I wonder about Dick Cheney, and the reason that maybe they keep him only in loyalty oath audiences is if he becomes angry, I do believe he turns into the Hulk. And so they try and keep people from questioning him because he'll just, was it that? The shirt rips and suddenly he has hair. So he's been my favorite because he just goes out there to a room full of supporters and says, you know, we're all going to die, right? You're going to die unless I'm in charge.
What about Gary?
Kerry is, I think if he focuses, I think if he really, really focuses, he can defeat Nixon and I think have our troops out of Nam by 74. He is what Kennedy has wrought. John Kennedy, not Ted Kennedy. Ted Kennedy has wrought a whole other thing that has to do with not wearing pants and running around Palm Beach. He's Kennedy if you squint. You know, if you're not really paying that close attention. Sort of profiles in courage, profiles in might have been courage, profiles in, you know what I'm saying?
Are you an equal opportunity skewer?
We don't consider ourselves equal opportunity anythings because that's not, you know, that's the beauty of fake journalism. We don't have to, we travel in fake ethics.
4 nights a week, Jon Stewart presides over a comedy show that masquerades as journalism, deconstructing the day's events and the pretenses of television news by repackaging reality as a parade of the absurd.
Just get to it.
This is a global effort. We're facing a group of folks who have such hatred in their heart.
Group of folks? We're facing a group of folks? A group of folks is what you run into at the Olive Garden. With the salad and the breadsticks and the soup.
You know, George Bush thought he could play dress-up on an aircraft carrier. And he thought he could stand up there in front of a big sign that said, "Mission accomplished."
And as I stand here in my borrowed work jacket, in front of a sign that says, "The real deal," I say to you, there is no irony in these statements.
This summer, Stewart unleashed his team of crack reporters at the Democratic and Republican conventions. Stephen Colbert, Samantha Bee, Ed Helms, and Rob Corddry are all talented young comics and students of the tactics and postures of television news.
Can you top me up here?
Take this interview at the Republican convention in New York with a delegate from Montana.
We're going to have a little time during the next few days, and we plan to tour your beautiful city.
Have you had your picture taken with a black person yet?
Well, I don't think so, but I wouldn't mind doing it.
That's something you'd be willing to try?
Why, certainly.
There's plenty of them.
I know.
Do you have any of them in Montana?
We don't, you know? We don't have any. In fact, I guess our kids were pretty old before they saw one.
Then, from the podium of Madison Square Garden, there was Lynn Cheney's introduction of her husband, the vice president.
While most of the boys I knew saw the charm of driving back and forth time and again between the two A&W root beer stands in our small town, Dick did not. And when practically everybody in Casper, Wyoming started doing the twist, I can tell you Dick did not.
And when all those young men were forced to go to Vietnam,
Dick did not.
And while we're on the subject of candidate spouses, there was this, right after John Kerry's primary victory in Arizona.
Kerry did seem uncharacteristically demonstrative after his win. Here he is giving one of his volunteers a big hug. Thank you so much. Embracing fellow Senator Ted Kennedy. And, of course, giving his wife, Teresa, an accidental running into.
With material like that, The Daily Show's ratings are up 22% over last year. They even scored a journalistic coup when Senator John Edwards chose The Daily Show to make a major announcement.
Well, I am on your show to announce that I am a candidate for President of the United States.
and I guess I should probably tell you now, we're a fake show. So I want you to know that this may not count.
I saw John Edwards declaring his candidacy on your show.
Yes. And by the way, very effective move. I thought.
For him?
Oh, wait, he's not the nominee. Oh, yeah, no, it was bad then. Yeah, that didn't work. He did it because he made a promise to us that he would, and he kept it. I mean, he doesn't understand this system at all. I personally had forgotten that he told me that because I'm so not listening to the guests when they're talking usually. I'm usually thinking about, you know,
Next question.
Love a cappuccino. But it was fun. It was fun for us. But we have a difficult time when we march up to that line of respectability.
Hey, you looked a little uncomfortable.
Well, I think access doesn't work for us. And by the way, it hasn't been working for the regular media either.
Stewart expects to vote for John Kerry, but says that's not an endorsement. Just about every significant political figure has come on the show hoping to reach its young audience. The one notable exception, President Bush.
Do you think he'll come on?
Hold on. No, I don't think he'll come on.
Why?
He's busy running the country.
But you'd like to have him on?
The president? Probably not. It'd be very uncomfortable.
All the Secret Service people around.
It's not even so much the drug dogs, because we're pretty good about hiding everything. What I would like to say to him, I feel like I wouldn't be able to, because he's the president. And the respect that I have for the office and for the person holding it, whoever it is, would be confining.
But there are few constraints when it comes to crafting the comedy sketches, and almost everything is fair game.
Do you do things on a rock?
On a rock? Mm-hmm. Yes, sure. We call it Mesopotamia.
How are you? Nice to see you.
It's the, I think, defining issue of the day.
Here in Najaf, the violence is just at a simmer. Whereas here in Wazit and southern Al-Anbar, it's more of a quiet rage. Which over here, John, is simply rage that's run out of ammunition. All across Iraq, there's only sporadic violence because they're almost out of people.
Anything you feel like you can't do?
I can't sing. Never been able to sing. I can't do voices very well. Every impression I do sounds the same. Can't dunk. Man, would I give anything to dunk.
I was talking about material.
I try not to do the unfunny stuff. That's the stuff I try not to do, but if you've seen the show, you see, it gets in. Hello. How are you? Nice to meet you.
Stewart and his Daily Show staff have moved from fake news into fake history.
There you go, sir. Thank you very much.
America, the book, a citizen's guide to democracy in action. It's a twisted take on a high school civics book with lessons on things like the 5 interesting moments in Senate history and exercises like dressing the Supreme Court. That one got it banned from Walmart.
Did you write it all by yourself?
Here's the thing. I'm more of a delegator. I like to come in, have half a melon, sit down, go through the papers. They'll bring me the stuff, I'll edit. No, everybody worked unbelievably hard on it.
Do you get all the money, or do they get part of the money?
Yeah. Well, they don't, when you say the money, we work here on a barter system. So what they get are beads, which they can turn in for drinks. It's a lot like Club Med.
And there'll be lots of beads to go around. The book is currently #1 on the New York Times bestseller list.
Thank you.
And Stewart's star continues to rise ever higher.
Oh, that one.
With 2 Emmy Awards this year,
Perfect. That's good.
even the cover of Rolling Stone.
Certainly you've become a much bigger deal.
Oh, I'm 6'2". 6'2", 185. We're certainly getting more attention, that's for sure.
The Television Critics Association gave you its award for Best News and Information Program this year?
We'd always sworn we're taking 60 Minutes down. You, Frontline, all you guys, you're meat. I think in some respects they were punking you, as opposed to praising us.
Stewart did some punking himself after 60 Minutes Wednesday admitted it could not authenticate documents used in a report on President Bush's National Guard service.
CBS issued a statement defending its reporting, but vowing to, quote, make every effort to resolve the contradictions and answer the unanswered questions about the documents. Among those unanswered questions, why the didn't you check them before you broadcast it?
I can't believe that the National Guard memo scandal is the only scandal in 4 years that has gotten elevated to the status of having a gate attached to it. Rathergate. For God's sakes, we launched a war based on forged documents. That doesn't get a gate. How do you not get a gate out of that? Dick Cheney's old company does business with Iran in an offshore Cayman Islands group. No gate. Nothing.
Do not listen to this guy or this guy.
While Stewart makes his living doing fake news on Comedy Central, which is owned by the same company that owns CBS News, he has real opinions about real news, especially the 24-hour cable variety, which he thinks produces more heat than light.
It is what has become rewarded in political discourse is the extremity of viewpoint, because people like the conflict. Conflict, baby, it sells. Crossfire, hardball, shut up, you shut up.
So when Stewart was invited to appear on CNN's Crossfire earlier this month, he decided to withhold his humor, express those opinions, and provoke a little conflict of his own.
You have a responsibility to the public discourse, and you
need to get a job at a journalism
miserably.
school, I think.
You need to go to one. The thing that I want to say is, when you have people on for just knee-jerk, reactionary talk.
Wait, I thought you were going to be funny. Come on, be funny.
No, I'm not going to be your monkey.
Some saw it as a sign that Stewart may be taking himself too seriously. Others congratulated him for speaking his mind. In any event, when it comes to the media, no one can accuse him of playing favorites.
Fox has the phrase fair and balanced, and journalists wring their hands about that. How can they say it? Those bastards, they say fair and balanced, but they're not. I watch it. It's not. It makes me so mad. Well, CNN says you can depend on CNN. Guess what? I watch CNN. No, you can't. I watch it all the time. So your slogan's just as misleading as theirs.
We don't have a slogan.
You actually do.
What is it?
May cause drowsiness.
Look across the landscape of late-night television, and you'll see that most of the hosts are white men in their 40s and 50s, but not Trevor Noah. He's biracial, he's not American, and he's only 38. But he's a certified celebrity with a global following who has brought an international dimension to Comedy Central's The Daily Show. He's from South Africa, where he grew up under apartheid. He called his memoir Born a Crime because it was illegal for a black woman, like his mother, and a white man, like his father, to mix. As we first reported in December, Trevor says he's always felt like an outsider, but his humor, making people laugh, has been his ticket to belonging. Trevor Noah is back on tour with his comedy show in a different city practically every weekend.
Yeah, like when you're in Texas, they'd be like, you got any weapons in the vehicle? You're like, no, sir. They're like, all right, here's one. Here you go. You all have a good night now.
He loves owning the stage, the roar of the big crowd, typically 15,000 in giant arenas like this one in Washington, D.C.
All right, buddy, here we go. We're about to start taping our monologue. That's all.
It's a far cry from his more confined TV studio day job on The Daily Show, where he had a shaky start when he took over 6 years ago from Jon Stewart.
And now it feels like the family has a new stepdad. And he's black.
Was it a good decision?
Terrible initially.
I know. Awful.
Don't take The Daily Show, Lesley. When they offer it to you, whatever you do, don't take The Daily Show.
Well, what happened in the beginning?
Oh, I mean, everybody hated me. People didn't even know me, and they hated the idea of me.
But you did have a savior, Donald Trump.
Once you realize that Trump is basically the perfect African president, you start to notice the similarities everywhere.
Once he found his foil,
the secret document,
his ratings began to improve, and he realized he could connect American politics to his background in South Africa. He grew up in Johannesburg and its black township of Soweto during the strict racial separation regime of apartheid. He always felt like an outsider, not quite black like his Xhosa mother, not quite white like his Swiss father, who he has seen infrequently in his life. To be with your father who was white, that was a crime.
Yeah. This was the law that forbade anybody of different races from mixing.
There's something I heard, I'm not sure I believe it, but your grandfather used to call you master?
Yeah.
Because of the color of your skin?
That's how he referred to me. Master! And he'd always force me to sit in the back of the car. Be like, Master, what can the police say if I say the master is sitting with me?
Your parents, your grandmother particularly, was always afraid the police were going to come and find you. What would have happened if they found you?
I probably would have been taken away to an orphanage.
No.
Yeah.
Your grandmother was always hiding you.
Yes.
You were in lockdown.
Right. I was in pandemic before pandemic even existed.
But you were poor. You write in your book about eating worms and having a toy that was a brick.
Here's the thing that I always say to people. Being poor in a group or in a community that is poor is not as bad as being poor when you know what you're missing out on. So when I grew up, we played with bricks as cars, and you'd smash them into each other, and it was one of the most fun games I've ever played. The same thing with eating mopani worms. What I didn't like was when we couldn't eat anything else, and my mom said, we're gonna have to eat these mopani worms for longer because we don't have money to buy chicken.
Spending time indoors, he became a voracious reader. He wrote about his mother, Patricia Noah, in his memoir, Born a Crime, saying she raised him almost as if he was white, with no limitations on what he could achieve. He wrote it was just the two of them, him and his mom, against the world. But then she married a man named Abel, who he said beat up his mother, then shot her in the head.
The head bullets didn't hit anything vital, other than the head, obviously. But it missed her spinal cord, missed the nerves, didn't touch the brain, and all it did was it cut a piece of her nostril off, just one side, and the bullet went out clean. And my mom looks at me and she goes, shh, Trevor, shh, don't cry, baby. I said, no, Mom, I'm gonna cry. You were shot in the head. And she says, no. Look on the bright side. I said, what bright side? She says, no, at least now because of my nose, you're officially the best looking person in the family.
You did say you had the black world and you had the white world, and this is a quote from you. All I wanted to do was belong.
Everybody wants to belong. Half of our fights in life are because we want to belong. And so I grew up in a country where I was told that your belonging was defined by the shade of the color of your skin. And that never worked for me. You know, I found my greatest joy was with the people where we shared interests and the way we spoke and the way we laughed, etc. So I always wanted to belong. And that I think has been a gift and a curse in life.
I have a funny feeling that you did belong because you were funny.
Funny is something that I developed as a tool, to belong.
He was funny back in Johannesburg, but became a professional comedian by accident when he was 22 and took the stage at a comedy club on a dare from his cousin.
Yeah, you laugh, but it's true, because I'm like mixed, you know? I've got like a percentage share, like it's that type of thing.
He killed it, gave up his plan to go to college, and soon was touring all over the world as a stand-up comic. According to Forbes, he's one of the highest-paid comedians today. He first started touring the United States in 2011, and a year later...
From the time I was a young child, I've always wanted one thing, and that is, I've always wanted to be black.
He was on The Tonight Show and caught the attention of Jon Stewart's producer at The Daily Show, a Viacom CBS property. When he was eventually offered the host chair, he said it would have meant taking a pay cut and giving up his life on the road. So Stewart had to talk him into it.
He said, I'm not offering you the glitz and glam of your life. I'm offering you a home for a while that I think you will come to enjoy. That intrigued me. I was like, I've always wanted to have home. I've always wanted to belong. And so I thought, well, this could be the chance.
From Trevor's couch in New York City.
And the chance to weigh in on serious topics. When COVID hit and he was broadcasting from his apartment, nearly 11 million people watched his monologue on race and George Floyd.
There was a black man on the ground in handcuffs, and you could take his life, so you did. Almost knowing that there would be no ramifications.
And it wasn't funny. And now we have a new dimension to Trevor.
I guess you've seen a different dimension to Trevor. I've always had the different dimension.
Well, you showed it to the public.
That's true.
Some of the funniest people we know on the planet have depression. You come to mind.
Well, I think over the years, what I've come to learn, thanks to some great therapists, is my depression is created by a severe level of ADHD.
ADHD looks like depression? What do you mean?
So it can be different for different people. I'm not, but so for myself, it means that if I'm not careful in how I sleep, how I eat, how I manage my routine, I can become overwhelmed, and it can just feel like the whole world is just too heavy to bear.
You said something that sticks with me. You said it wasn't till you came to the United States that real hate started coming at you.
Oh yeah, definitely.
What was the hate that you felt? Did the cops ever stop you?
I've been pulled over quite frequently by the cops, yeah. One of my best friends, David Meyer, would drive all over the West Coast to these comedy shows. If I was driving, we would get pulled over.
And
then he would drive, we wouldn't get pulled over.
But you did say you experienced hate.
Yes, but I mean, that's welcome to America,
Oh, that's harsh.
Yeah, there's a lot of hate in America because there's a lot of anger in America.
How is it changing you?
For me, I'm always trying to figure out, how do I speak to somebody who hates me? This is where we are for now.
Because of his childhood, growing up between two different worlds, he tends to see both sides of an argument. Take his reaction to the trouble his friend, comedian Dave Chappelle, got in over his Netflix special, The Closer.
We blacks, we look at the gay community.
That was criticized as homophobic, transphobic, and misogynistic. In your mind, did he cross the line?
Did Dave Chappelle cross the line? Yes, no. It immediately puts me in a position where I have to choose a side when I think that the matter is a lot more complex than that. I think everybody is defining the line for themselves.
No, society defines a line.
You see what you're saying now is you're saying society has decided. But America is clearly divided in that half of society has gone like, no, Dave Chappelle, we love what you said. We're sick of wokeness. We're sick of people being told what to say. We're sick of not knowing how to use the right pronoun. You're right, Dave Chappelle. So then if half of society is saying Dave Chappelle is right and half of society is saying that he's wrong, then that means there is no line. It means society is seeing the line from two different sides. And so that's why I say you cannot say, did he cross the line? Because which side are you looking at the line from defines whether or not he crossed it.
Are you still learning things all the time?
Yes.
Well, he's had to learn about New York City, his new home since 2015, buy an apartment here, make new friends. Let me ask you about your personal life for a minute. Do you want to have children?
I go back and forth. Sometimes I will meet kids who make me go, I want a kid. And then sometimes I'll meet children where I go, I hope that my sperm doesn't do anything because this person is a terror.
You're 37.
Okay.
You're right there. That's
Okay.
the clock. It's ticking.
Okay.
But you don't feel it.
No, I don't.
You have a girlfriend now.
Maybe.
Well, I read page 6 like everybody else in this
Lesley,
world.
Oh, the tabloids.
You don't like to talk about your girlfriends.
No.
What is Trevor like with his girlfriends?
No. It's a trick. You don't have to answer that question.
Yes, he does. Trevor introduced us to comedy producer Ryan Harduth and comedian David Kibuka, now a supervising producer on The Daily Show. They're among his oldest friends from South Africa.
Answer.
You don't have to answer any questions about personal
Well,
relationships.
who told you that?
Okay, what is Mitch McConnell like with his girlfriends? Do you know the answer to that question?
I don't know it.
Exactly.
Because he didn't answer it.
Because they don't even ask him.
And also because people don't want to know. This is what I'll say about Trevor with his girlfriends. Is that...
So you're just fully going ahead with
Yes,
Of course he
yes.
is.
Wow.
Of course he is.
Is that he is very, very, like a great boyfriend.
So, what are the qualities that you like most about Trevor?
It's a great boyfriend.
Yeah.
Trevor told us he hangs out with these guys often and talks with his mother every day. Things he says that keep him grounded. Is he a perfectionist?
No, I wouldn't say he's a perfectionist.
Workaholic?
Yes.
Yes, I would say so.
100%.
He sure is. Even though he does The Daily Show during the week and has hosted the Grammy Awards for the past 2 years, he refuses to give up his comedy shows.
Genuinely, I just love the feeling of a laugh. I think when we laugh as human beings, that's when we're our most authentic selves. That's why your real laugh is so ugly. Do you know what I mean? It's not filtered in any way. It's just like, I love that. It's like pure joy. Forget what people think. Just laugh, you know? We need it every single day. Every single day.
Very few things in this country galvanize public opinion like someone trying to mess around with people's preferences in the bedroom. I'm talking, of course, about what they watch on late-night television. And NBC found that out a few months ago when Conan O'Brien, the newly installed host of The Tonight Show, quit after the network announced it was going to push The Tonight Show into tomorrow and to give its traditional time slot back to O'Brien's predecessor, Jay Leno. It triggered a lot of bad publicity for NBC, an outpouring of public support for Conan, and some of the best late-night jokes in a decade. Conan walked away with a $32 million settlement and a new cable show, and NBC did its best to push him into oblivion, legally prohibiting him from saying anything false or disparaging about the network and from giving interviews or appearing on television until now. If you're wondering what happened to Conan O'Brien and what he thinks about all of this, you're about to find out. So, what's with the beard?
The first day that I woke up and was no longer the host of The Tonight Show, I remember the first thought I had is, I am not shaving. And that was my small victory, you know. Okay, so I lost The Tonight Show, but I'll show them I'll stop shaving.
This has been quite a year.
Yeah. That's it, we're done. This was a lot of fun. This year has been is still incomprehensible to me. The amount of stuff that's happened in my life in the last year is, it's going to take me a long time to process it.
After leaving The Tonight Show in January and hanging out at his home trying to figure out what he was going to do with the rest of his life, he decided the best therapy would be to get out of the house and back to work. He assembled a lot of his old staff, opened a Twitter account.
That's the tweet!
And began planning a nationwide comedy tour, something that he had never done before, and one of the few things he was allowed to do contractually.
See how things play out.
We met up with him in Seattle.
You must have been miserable the last couple of months. I went through some stuff, and I got very depressed at times. You know, it was like a marriage breaking up suddenly, violently, quickly, and I was just trying to figure out what happened. Mm-hmm. When we started putting this tour together, I started to feel better almost immediately. Mm-hmm. And then there's no better antidote to what I've just been through than to do this every night.
Ladies and gentlemen.
A little bit. Okay. Why don't you go? You go! I can't do it!
You know, doing this tour, though, this is a huge milestone for me. This is the first time anybody has ever paid to see me. Can you believe that? Yeah. Oh, they've paid to make me go away. On the road again.
The legally prohibited from being funny on television tour has boosted his confidence, kept him relevant, and provided an outlet for him to explore his anger, disappointment, and anxiety with mostly self-deprecating humor.
My own show again. I just can't wait to have my own show again. I'd even take a primetime show that's on at 10. Anything to have my own show again.
After 40 performances in 32 cities in the U.S. and Canada, the tour will wind up next month at Radio City Music Hall in New York, right next door to NBC's corporate headquarters, where this whole late-night fiasco was cooked up.
I just want to say I couldn't be happier. You were the only choice. You were the perfect choice. You have been an absolute gentleman in private and in the press. I agree. Conan rocks. Good luck next week, my friend.
Jay, thank you for everything.
Less than 1 year after Jay Leno handed The Tonight Show off to Conan O'Brien, NBC decided to cancel Leno's disastrous primetime show and move him back into his old time period at 11:35 Eastern. Conan's Tonight Show, which was losing badly in the ratings to David Letterman, was to be bumped back to 12:05 the next morning. Was it in the back of your mind that, look, if I don't do that well, they can just pop Leno back in?
I'm a paranoid person. And I think I'm the kind of person that can come up with lots of negative scenarios. But I remembered thinking that seemed like that was a stretch, even for me.
What followed were some unpleasant discussions with NBC's West Coast brass.
It just felt like the tone went very quickly from take your time, we understand this is a tough decision, to, let's go. And that probably helped me a little bit feel like, you know what, this environment doesn't feel right. And I've been with these people a long time, and I really don't like the way this is going. And when it started to get toxic and I started to feel that I'm not sure these people even really want me here, let's just, I can't do it.
Do you think they wanted you to leave?
Yeah, that's crossed my mind. I don't know how thought out this whole thing was, but if they wanted me to leave, it worked.
This was just really, really hard for him. It was watching someone's heart get broken.
Liza O'Brien, Conan's wife, was one of his main confidants and closest advisors during the debacle.
Did you approve of everything that he did?
100%, yeah.
You thought he should have left?
Absolutely.
What do you think of the way he was treated by NBC?
From my perspective, it felt like they never really gave him the job. That they said, we're going to give you this job in 5 years, and they kept him with the company, and he said, I won't go anywhere else, and I'll keep working for you, and I'm in it for the long haul, and it felt like they lost their nerve to really make a change, and that was too bad. It was a shame, because it would have been great to see what he could have done if he had their full support and had some more time.
You've got this non-disparagement agreement.
Do you have a copy? Because I haven't read it in a while.
I have a copy somewhere in my bag.
I keep one in my wallet.
You do?
It'd be funny if anytime people come up to me, hey, so what's the deal with Jay Leno? Hold on a second. He's a fine and good man. There we go, put that away.
Can I assume that this interview would take a different tenor if that agreement did not exist?
No, I don't think it would. The biggest thing people come up and say to me in gas stations and restaurants, I have so many people say this to me, hey, partner, you got screwed. And I always tell them, no, I didn't. I didn't get screwed. I'm fine. It didn't work out.
Well, you did get screwed.
You think I got screwed.
Well, I think most people think you got screwed. I mean, Jay Leno thinks you got screwed. Jay Leno thinks he got screwed.
How did he get screwed? Explain that part to me. I'm sorry. Jay's got the Tonight Show. I have a beard and an inflatable bat, and I'm touring city to city.
Who can say who won and who lost? I'm laughing because crying would be sad.
Has Jay reached out to you?
No.
No calls?
No, I do not think I'll be hearing from him. We should get him in here.
We should.
Is there gonna be a surprise walk-on?
No.
Okay.
But he'd call if you know his number. I'm sure he'd come over.
He may have caller ID. He won't pick up.
I think Leno would say, look, I was riding high. I was number one, and I was still number one when I left, and Conan made this deal with NBC, and NBC said, okay, Jay, we're going to take you off the air in 5 years, regardless of whether you're number one or number two or what. I think he felt like he was forced out by NBC at a time when he was a strong number one and was pushed out the door. That's his argument.
It's hard for me to get inside his head and argue his side of this whole thing. Here's what I can say. I'm happy with my decision. I sleep well at night, and I hope he's happy with his decision.
Do you think that Jay lobbied for this?
I don't know, but what I know is what happened, which is that he went and took that show back.
Do you believe he acted honorably during all of this?
I don't think I can answer that. I don't think. I can just tell you maybe how I would have handled it, and I would do it differently.
You wouldn't have come back on The Tonight Show?
If I had surrendered The Tonight Show and handed it over to somebody publicly and wished them well, and then would not have come back 6 months later. But that's me, Everyone's got their own, way of doing things.
What would you have done?
Done something else, go someplace else. I mean, that's just me.
He is equally disappointed with NBC, the company where he worked most of his adult life, and with NBC Universal chief Jeff Zucker, who he has known since they were classmates at Harvard.
Has Zucker called you?
No.
You haven't talked to Zucker since this offer was made to you?
That's right. At some point, I'm sure I'm going to bump into these people, and, I'm not sure we're going to have our arms around each other and drinking beer and singing old Irish fight songs, because I don't think they know any. But I wish, this is going to sound crazy, I do wish these people well.
Jeff Zucker was quoted as saying, at the end of the day, the viewers voted, and they didn't like Conan as the host of The Tonight Show.
Can I take back what I just said?
Do you take issue with that?
In my opinion, I don't think that's fair or accurate, but he's entitled to his opinion. I think for anyone to say that the results were in after 6 months, that doesn't ring true to me.
Oh, they said that for the first time in history, The Tonight Show was losing money.
I don't see how that's I honestly don't see how that's possible. It's really not possible. It isn't possible.
Did you expect NBC to give you more of a chance?
Absolutely. Yes.
Do you feel like it was a failure?
My Tonight Show? No, absolutely not.
Conan does agree with NBC's comments that it was a business decision motivated by money, and he acknowledges that Leno had the more expensive contract and would have been even harder to let go.
Some people have reported that NBC would have had to pay him $150 million.
Yeah. So if you look at it that way and you're working at, let's say, I don't know, you're working for General Electric, and you tell them, there's this to make that guy go away, or there's this. That decision's probably pretty clear, and I think, in my gut, I honestly believe everybody knows.
Yeah.
That's what happened. they did what they had to do, and okay, I get it. And the only thing I take exception to is subsequently people saying, well, you know, Conan was losing money, and, you know, actually he was murdering cats. What? You know, whatever.
Last month, Conan finally pulled the trigger on his future, raising some eyebrows by signing on to do an 11 o'clock show for the cable channel TBS, and not with a broadcast network.
Oh, I do not look down my nose at cable, and I think anyone who does isn't paying attention to television these days, because this world is changing very quickly.
You got $30 million that you didn't have before. You got a very lucrative new gig on TBS, which has an audience that
very young audience,
custom made for you. It wasn't all bad.
That's the point I keep making. It's crucial to me that anyone seeing this take anything away from this. I'm fine. I'm doing great. I hope people still find me comedically absurd and ridiculous. And I don't regret anything. I do believe, and this might be my Catholic upbringing or Irish magical thinking, but I think things happen for a reason. I really do.
I thought the Lutherans believed that.
Oh my God, it is Lutherans. Okay, I believe that if I experience any joy in life, I'll go to hell. That's what I believe. And, but you get my point.
They threw me out. It happened fast. They said, please don't let the door hit your freckled Irish ass. I hung around the house, eating frosting from a jar. I got really into Gossip Girl and sleeping in my car. Yes, I'll survive. Yes, I'll survive. Yeah, they kind of tried to kill me, but I made it out alive. I've got all my life to live. I've got so many shows to give. I'll survive. I will survive. I will survive.
In 1975, a young producer named Lorne Michaels created a bold new comedy show that began each week with the words, "Live from New York." Since that time, Saturday Night Live has done far more than just survive, a feat in itself. It has been the breeding ground for generations of our funniest comics. So we decided, with awards and accolades pouring his way, to spend some time with Lorne Michaels and his troupe to see how they pull it off after all these years. It just so happens that the week we picked to be with them was the occasion of one of the most famous flubs ever on the show just last weekend, in which the musical guest, Ashlee Simpson, walked off the set during what was supposed to be her live performance. It was a culmination of a typically frenetic week, and we were there for a behind-the-scenes look at how the show is put together.
Saturday Night Live!
Saturday Night Live is doing what it's been doing for nearly 30 years. A cast of a dozen or so comedians spoof what's in, lampoon who's powerful, and just act silly.
Monster scene, take one.
Here's cast member Will Forte playing a green monster.
Stop!
When this sketch is over, Forte will have just 3 minutes to morph into the President of the United States. This is the only live entertainment show left on network television.
It sounds like another one of those exaggerations.
Saturday Night Live is 90 minutes of flying without a net.
On a Monday.
As they found out last Saturday night, when the musical guest, Ashlee Simpson, walked off the set in the middle of her performance because of a lip-syncing miscue. It stunned everyone, including the man in charge, Lorne Michaels. Has any performer ever walked off the set like that?
No.
The reason there haven't been more mess-ups like this is because of Lorne's rule. No ad-libs. Everything is written down on cue cards and rehearsed. The show, when you see it, has the feel of ad-lib. It just has that feel to it. And yet I read that you lock it in.
It's totally nailed down. Yeah.
Wow.
But
Because
there's
it doesn't look that way.
because
really.
because there's a raggedness that comes from just doing a show that quickly. I mean, you're going from blank page to on the air in 6 days.
We were there last week when the process started on Monday afternoon in Lorne's office. The writers and performers meet the guest host.
Jude Law is there.
In this case, actor Jude Law for the first time. He has more say about what'll be in the show than we imagined. The staff tosses out ideas for sketches to see what he likes.
Seth? Maybe an idea where you're a professor at like an esteemed British university for cads. Chris?
A scene where we play half-brothers, because let's face it, that's all anybody would believe.
Hey. All right, let's start.
After the pitch session, the writers sit at computers with the show's cast members,
I'm right up, ding ding. I'm right up, ding ding.
trying to come up with something, anything.
I don't know what I'm gonna do, Dad.
They work like this all through Tuesday and into Wednesday with no sleep. Michaels is in his office pulling his own all-nighter, meeting with whoever needs his help. It's the way he has always run his show from its debut in 1975 with a cast of unknowns like John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd.
Jane, you ignorant slut.
These comedians became the voice of their generation.
We are two wild and crazy guys.
I wonder if you think you were an expression of the times or if you created some of the time.
Definitely an expression of the times.
We were
yes.
in a rebellious time. It was
Well,
civil
we were
rights.
yes, and we were questioning authority.
Spear chucker. White trash. Jungle bunny. Hunky. Spade. Hunky hunky.
Did you think you were being brave then? Because it was dangerous, the kind of stuff you were putting on national television.
I don't know that we thought it was. I don't think we thought brave isn't. You're just sort of hoping that it works. You were hoping that it connects with the audience. And
But
we
you
were
knew
sort of,
you were pushing us. You
Yes,
knew
yes,
knew that we were gasping.
Our top story tonight. Our top story tonight.
When we did News for the Hard of Hearing in the 70s, people would laugh at that because it was silly.
Good night and have a pleasant. Good night and have a pleasant tomorrow.
We didn't think of it as mean-spirited.
And you're saying you couldn't do that today?
Definitely couldn't do that today because it's a disability.
But listen to what they do. Here's Finesse Mitchell.
I think it's time that our own government realized some women need serious help naming their babies here in this country, especially young black women. I'm speaking up for all the LaQuays and Calamaris of the world, okay?
Lorne Michaels says the secret of the show is that the humor and the cast have changed with the times, from the Bill Murray and Gilda Radner era.
What is that bewitching scent you're wearing?
Vicks Vapor Rub.
To Chris Farley. For this year's cast, there's a lot to live up to.
I think the difference between us and the early years was, that, we're showing up and there's all this history and like this place is a temple now. I think we all respect it.
The first time the writers know whether the sketches they've worked on are funny is Wednesday afternoon when everyone files into the writer's room to hear the goods. This is like the cabinet room in the White House. It is, with the aides all around.
With worse food.
On barely any sleep, the writers and cast have come up with 47 sketches, 36 more than they'll need.
John Kerry makes me angry with his $200 haircuts, his fancy suits, and his big French nose.
For 4 hours, everyone is keyed on the guy next to Jude, hoping the Godfather will give up a smirk, a chuckle, or maybe, just maybe, a laugh. When it's all over, Lorne and Jude go to the board in Lorne's office to boil the 47 sketches down to just 11.
I quite enjoyed that one because it was just so complete. For me, it was being totally ridiculous. Okay.
This week, there'll be lots of politics, which is nothing new. Every president since Nixon has felt the sting.
Stay the course. 1,000 points of light.
I am bulletproof.
Have you ever been pressured by an administration to back off? Either directly or indirectly?
No.
What about your own politics?
I'm registered as an independent. I think it's incredibly important that the show not be partisan. I think that's...
Don't let your own biases,
Never.
whatever they are. Even so, after more than 30 years in show business, Lorne Michaels has so much power and influence, he's the master of his own universe. He's beloved, but not by everyone. Some former cast members say the atmosphere on the show is cutthroat and that Lorne can be distant and aloof. It's even been said he inspired Mike Myers' movie character Dr. Evil in the Austin Powers movies. Watch the similarities.
Right.
Right.
Dr. Evil.
Yes.
Is it?
Well,
Do you? Is it?
I don't think it is literally, no.
To be fair, you've also been called kind, generous, loyal, cute.
Now, are any of those going to make it to air?
I just said it.
Yeah, okay.
The one issue that riles Lorne Michaels is drugs because of the overdose death of John Belushi after he'd left the show. It's been said that Michaels turned a blind eye to drug use at the show in the early years, but he denies an accusation that he fueled Belushi's cocaine habit.
I never gave him drugs. Somebody said I gave him drugs.
So it's not true?
No, it's not true.
Well, then let's get that denied right now.
All right, okay.
In the early 90s, when Chris Farley came along, Michaels sent him to rehab. But 2 years after he left the show, Farley died of an overdose at 33. Now Lorne, at 59, is concerned with projecting a cleaner image. His friends say because he's now the father of 3 young children. This is the cue card. Oh, different colors for different people?
For everybody has their own color.
Oh. Preparing for the show on Thursday and Friday, Lorne oversees the nuts and bolts. Costumes are made. Sets are built. This is Friday.
This is Friday.
Friday night.
This is Friday night.
It's almost 7 o'clock Friday night.
Yes, right. And
you're
we're
pretty loose for Friday night.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not my first show.
He's even calm on Saturday, 3 hours before air. There's a full rehearsal they call dress in front of a live audience. And Lorne, in a tiny alcove under the bleachers, is still fine-tuning.
These bananas are so hard to eat.
He dictates changes depending on how hard and if the audience laughs.
Kerry then tried to win over Cuban voters in Florida by shooting Fidel Castro.
Everything is going smoothly until Ashley Simpson rehearses. When she finishes, she rushes out and darts past us in tears, upset about her voice. Tell me what's happening.
Ashley Simpson is worried about her voice. They're worried about her losing her voice, and so they weren't sure whether she should sing at dress and try and save it for the air show.
With just over an hour to air, the show is still too fat by 30 minutes. Lorne and Jude meet to make the cuts, and then the writers and performers read the board to see if their sketches are in or out. It can be devastating.
That's a hard lesson to learn, because in the beginning you're like, what the hell? I called my parents? My grandma's watching, I'm not even going to be on the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jude Law.
It's showtime, and Lorne is on the set looking like a father at his kid's recital. Everything is going well until Ashley Simpson starts her second song. Watch what happens.
On a Monday, I'm waiting. Tuesday.
Because her voice was hoarse, Ashley had decided to lip sync a tape recording of her song. But when the wrong song came up, she did an awkward little dance. She looked confused, not sure what to do. Then, flustered, she walked off the set. Everyone on the show was stunned, including Lorne Michaels, who told us he didn't know she was planning to lip sync. No one ever said the words to you,
No.
Can we lip sync?
Oh, absolutely not.
Has any performer
to your knowledge,
Yeah.
ever lip-synced on Saturday Night Live?
I think the only time is during dance breaks, where if it was all about dance, and that's a relatively recent phenomenon.
You've taken some hits yourself this week.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, I don't have any big welts or bruises. I mean, you know, it's life goes on, and the great part about Saturday Night Live is there's always next week.
What can I say? Live TV.
Exactly. I feel so bad my band started playing the wrong song.
The bungle obscured a funny show. Lots of politics, lots of poking fun at the powerful.
When the show is bright and funny, it's a great feeling, and I think it's a force for good. I'm
Why is
proud
it
of that one.
important?
Comedy is very powerful, and there's no protection against it. Comedy is a thing that comes from an openness and a freedom.
You know, you're right. It really is an expression of our freedom,
Yeah,
isn't it?
totally.
And our system.
Yes.
Because you can make fun of the president.
And get paid for it.
Nine years ago, this network, CBS, was mired in third place in the Nielsen ratings and desperate for a hit show that would turn around its primetime schedule. No one expected that it would be Everybody Loves Raymond. The title seemed a little gratuitous, and at the time, most people didn't even know who Raymond was. But the show, with its star, Ray Romano, blossomed into a huge hit without anyone really noticing how it happened. With the final episode set to air next week, it seems that everybody does love Raymond. The show, which is owned by CBS, HBO, and Worldwide Pants, is going out as the #1 comedy on television, and Ray Romano as the highest-paid actor in television history.
All right, here we go, guys. Stand by. Ready, Raymond? Action.
The cast and crew were still writing and filming the final episodes when we visited the Burbank studios last December. But Ray Romano and the other actors were already picking out their favorite heirlooms, like relatives at a family funeral.
That couch is coming home with me. That's everybody's picking one thing that they're going to take. And my wife and I are in a discussion, which means fight, because I want the couch and she doesn't think there's anywhere to put it. But I'm going to bring that home with me.
When it debuted in 1996, the show was taped before a live audience recruited mostly from nursing homes and rehab clinics.
This is Mom and Dad's kitchen.
No one was lining up to see an old-fashioned sitcom based on the comedy of Ray Romano, which was based on the life of Ray Romano, or at least the persona that he created during years of doing stand-up comedy about parents, siblings, children, and marriage.
The first day you move in, you're going to make choices. They don't seem important. Little things like what side of the bed do you want? I thought that was trivial. Well, whatever. That's your side for life right there.
But placed in the hands of talented writers and skilled producers, the jokes were translated into classic television.
What are you doing? Sorry, you're on my side.
Why do you think this show was so successful?
I think people just see themselves and they laugh at it. Or cry, either one. Laugh because it's funny and then cry because it's true. And I think that was the secret to it.
And you had a great cast.
Oh, yes, that too.
Oh, thank you.
He's surrounded by one of the most accomplished ensembles in television comedy ever, with 8 Emmys among them. Peter Boyle, Doris Roberts, Patricia Heaton, Monica Horan, and Brad Garrett make up Raymond's extended family, a study in suburban dysfunction.
The angry family. The daddy was mad at the mommy. The mommy was mad at the daddy. The mommy and daddy were very mad at the grandpa. The grandma got mad at everybody.
I did not.
There was always, I think, somewhat of a chemistry
we all really come from different arenas in the industry, but Ray and I from stand-up, and Doris from theater, and Peter from movies, and you were working the pole over at the Rhino for a while.
Did any of you think that the show would be this successful when you signed on, that you'd be doing it for 9 years?
No. Well, the writing for the pilot was fabulous.
Yeah, I think
The
we all
pilot-
recognize
the pilot
that.
was
really good.
Ray worried me early on.
I came in to audition and, met Ray. Actually, I didn't know that was Ray. I was sort of like waiting for the star of the show to come while this guy sat in the corner behind the door like Boo Radley with hair.
Thought he was there to clean the windows or something?
I was like, can you get me a coffee until Ray gets here? I need some.
It's a phenomenon. I mean, look what's happened to Ray. Come on. You're on 60 Minutes. Shed some light on this.
Well, you can begin with the obvious. He's incredibly shy, slightly awkward, reluctant even to make eye contact. So what's the difference between you and Raymond Barone?
This is going to seem impossible, but I would say he's a dumbed-down version of me, which is like splitting the atom, almost. He's a little more selfish, a little more naive, a little more ignorant. I think he's still a good person, but the similarities aren't far off, especially the relationship with everybody, the wife, and, my TV wife, my real wife. I don't sleep with either of them, to be honest with you.
While I was out today, I got you something.
In some ways, he is the least assuming character on the show, a gifted straight man in the tradition of Bob Newhart, George Burns, even Jerry Seinfeld, surrounded by more eccentric and emotional characters.
If there's ever anything wrong, it's PMS, huh? Sometimes I don't know what to do. Sometimes I just want to smack you.
See, he's every man, that's what's great about him.
Phil Rosenthal, the show's creator, and along with Romano, one of its executive producers, says Ray's character is absolutely central to everything that goes on.
Hey, Ray, you want to watch the game?
The beleaguered family man just trying to get through the day.
He wants to be left alone. Please let me sit on the couch and watch television without all my responsibilities and obligations and family bothering me.
Romano was born 47 years ago into a middle-class Italian family in Queens that bears more than a passing resemblance to the one on the show. His father was an engineer, his mother a piano teacher, his older brother a cop. Ray was a late bloomer. He says he dropped out of Queens College after 7 years with only 20 credits to pump gas and deliver futons and try his luck in the New York comedy clubs.
I was bad for a long time. Then you get a little better, and all of a sudden someone offers you a gig for money, and you make $75 on a weekend, and you think, holy crap.
I could do this.
Yeah. Well, for 70, I could, I'm living at my parents' house, so I could do this,
You lived at your parents' house until you were 30?
29, come on, 30. Who would do that? 29. I was 29 years old. I got married, and I moved out of my house the day after I got married.
That was in 1987, 3 years after he met Anna Scarpola. They have 4 children now and met while both of them were working as bank tellers. How was he as a bank teller?
Wasn't good.
God.
He was accurate, but very slow.
Did you think about going out with him before he asked you out?
No. It's funny because when they said, oh, a new teller is going to start, and all the girls, and we're like, oh, there's a new guy starting at the bank, We're all excited, but then he strolled in like 10 minutes late on his bicycle, and we were like, okay, maybe not interested.
When you met and married Ray, what were your expectations?
I don't think
You didn't have any.
Very low.
It was perfect.
All that changed in 1995 when Ray made his debut on The Late Show with David Letterman.
Tonight, Mel Gibson and comedian Ray Romano.
I can make an infant laugh in a second. I'll tell you, I'm losing my perspective on adult humor.
Letterman was so impressed that he offered Romano the production deal that led to Everybody Loves Raymond.
Hi, everybody!
Making him the highest paid television actor ever. 1.8 million per episode?
If you say it, all right. I just go to work, come home, and my wife lets me throw my clothes on the floor, and she doesn't say anything, so I must be making some money.
From what I can tell, you're making like probably twice as much as Shaquille O'Neal.
But you know what? I'm a better foul shooter than him. Seriously. I went in the back, and I keep a chart. I take 100 free throws, and I'm about 61%. And what's Shaquille? Shaquille's like 50. 1 for 1.
He has lots of time to practice now on the basket located on his tennis court.
3-3. 4-5.
That looks good. And he can work on his golf game on his private putting green. It's not far from his pool, located on several acres in the San Fernando Valley, with a 9,000 square foot house designed by his wife while Ray was working.
Has a gift shop in it, which I think is over the top. It's got a turtle pond. It's all her. I just picked the TV. She does the whole thing. If aliens came and took her away and didn't hurt her and kept her in a safe place and was going to bring her back in like 6 months, for those 6 months, I wouldn't know what to do. Yeah. I mean, I'd throw a party, but I wouldn't know how to pay for it. Honey.
He seems very much the reluctant star, the unassuming low-key family man from Queens, bundled with the snarl of neuroses and insecurities that afflict most entertainers.
My theory is they all had some parent who wasn't demonstrative enough. My saying is, if my father hugged me once, I'm not here right now. I'm doing your books. I'm your accountant right now, if my father hugged me once.
So what are you doing with your time now?
Well, I go to Hooters for lunch every day. Then for coffee. I would love to find a good film to do. I enjoyed the 3 that I did. 3 that I did. I was going to say 1 you saw, but actually nobody saw any of them. 1 was out there, nobody saw it. The 2 haven't been out yet.
So you've already done 2 that haven't been released?
Actually, 1 was released, and people asked me, when can I go see it? And I go, yeah, it's out there now, but if you're driving there and you hit traffic, just go right to the video store, because that's where it's going to be. It came and went in about a week.
Let's talk. Why don't we take some questions?
There's always the stand-up act to fall back on. Last November, he and Brad Garrett filled a theater at the Mirage in Las Vegas. And Romano is beginning to update an act which has been getting laughs for more than a decade.
After 1 child, sex slows down. After twins, I'll tell you right now what it is for us. I really don't care. I don't care if 60 Minutes is watching. This is it. Every 3 months. That's right. I'm looking right at you, folks. You know what I do every time I have sex? The next day I pay my estimated tax. It's due. My quarterlies are due.
As for the rest of the cast,
I want to set a new land speed record in Soul Flats.
You don't know how serious he is.
Ray wants me to just come and make out with him once a week. And Anna has said, please, twice a week.
Peter, and Doris, you've both had really long careers. Has this been
the best
thing that you've done?
The best.
Yeah, this has been longer than grade school. Actually,
but not college.
But not college.
This is longer than my first marriage.
The final episode, which airs next week, was actually taped back in January. It was an emotional night for the cast, their friends, and family when it came time for the final curtain call. Did you tear up?
I did, but that was an underwear problem. It was a very emotional time, and it got to me. It got to me a little bit. I broke down, and my father was there. So now he thinks I'm gay. We'll cut that.
With the primetime Emmys following right on our heels tonight, there's a good chance that you'll see almost as much of Jerry Seinfeld in the next few hours as we're going to show you now. When NBC began first talking to Jerry Seinfeld about doing an offbeat television series, he was a moderately successful stand-up comic, and no one's expectations were very high. Today, 8 years and 150 episodes later, a lot of things have changed, like television. As we first reported last February, that's in large part because of Seinfeld. Just look at the network schedules. There are half a dozen Seinfeld clones. His offbeat show is the top-rated comedy on television. And every time the network runs a 30-second commercial on it, it earns more than $500,000. You may think that's a lot of money, but it's only a fraction of what Jerry Seinfeld will make from the series for the rest of his life.
All right, settle, please.
It's his name on the soundstage and on the slate.
Roll sound.
But he's the most relaxed man on the set. In the history of television, only a handful of people have been as involved in a show or have gotten as rich from a show as Jerry Seinfeld has from this one.
We can schedule him Monday and Tuesday.
Nothing escapes his attention.
It's like suggesting saying
He's either writing a scene, watching a scene, or acting in a scene.
You get a check as a writer.
Yeah.
You get a check as an actor.
Right.
Get a check as a creator.
Right.
You get a check as an executive producer.
Right.
And you get checks every time one of these episodes is shown anywhere in the world.
Right. And I get nothing for doing this. Nothing.
In the show, he plays a self-effacing straight man in the midst of hopeless neurotics. And in real life, he is a non-actor surrounded by one of the most talented casts ever to grace a sitcom. Jason Alexander, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and Michael Richards are all good enough to have their own series. And now, thanks in part to Jerry Seinfeld, they're about to be paid like they do. And they'll tell you in no uncertain terms that Jerry Seinfeld's character is the least interesting on the show.
The focus is really the three of us.
How did that evolve? Or has it been that way from the beginning?
We're just much better than he is, I would say. Would you agree?
Is there a difference between Jerry Seinfeld, the character, and Jerry Seinfeld in real life?
Jerry in real life has much more money than Jerry the character. I'd say much more, actually.
I think that he's very compulsive.
He wants to know where a pencil is. He wants to know where the paper is. Here's his car keys, my jacket, and my whistle. He just wants to know where everything is. I don't know if that's a sign of insanity.
In short, the real Jerry Seinfeld is very much like the television character, at least before he got the sitcom. Even his mother calls him Mr. Perfection. He grew up in Massapequa, Long Island. His father ran a sign company, and on the day he graduated from Queens College, he took the subway to his first stand-up gig. It is still his first love, although he performs now only on rare occasions. Last July, we went with him to Atlanta. Millions had come to see the Olympics, but the hottest ticket in town carried you through the metal detectors at the Fox Theater to watch Jerry Seinfeld perform his best event. Yet backstage before the show, he seemed very much the wallflower at his own party.
What would you be doing if we weren't here?
Just waiting. One of the things you must master waiting as a comedian. You must be able to just wait comfortably. And they say the show's going to be delayed a half hour. You just go, fine. The plane's going to be delayed 2 hours. Fine. Career's going to be delayed 5 years. Fine. You got to be able to wait.
Are you nervous now?
Very, very nervous because you're here. And you're throwing me off.
Would you normally, are you nervous before you go out there?
Steve, can I call you Steve?
You can call me Steve.
I'm in this 20 years, brother. It's over.
What do you mean it's over?
All the tension, the struggle. I always wanted to be a comedian. My whole life I wanted to be a comedian. It's 20 years later. I am a comedian. Come.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jerry Seinfeld.
He is not just a comedian. Right now, he is the comedian. Aside from waiting tables at a Brewburger in New York and selling cheap jewelry and umbrellas outside Bloomingdale's, this is the only job he's ever had, making observations about life's little mysteries like seedless watermelons.
They've been working on this for 20 years. Scientists devoting their lives. Other scientists working on AIDS, cancer, heart disease. These guys are going, no, I feel melon is my area. Yes, I know that thousands of people are dying needlessly, but that's got to stop.
How you doing, Jerry?
At 42, he is at the top of the world, and no one seems more surprised than Jerry Seinfeld.
I never thought I'd see it. You know, when I'd been doing comedy 15 years, 16 years. I wasn't going anywhere. You know, this is it. I got 45 minutes of observations about planes and cough syrup, and that's it. I get away with that. I make a living. And I thought, even if I ever did manage to get on TV, I'm not the kind of guy people get excited about, you know? I just do I'm like a good carpenter, you know? I do nice, detail work. You know, to me, Robin Williams, that's a star. You know, I just didn't think of myself as that kind of guy. And I'm not that kind of guy.
NBC didn't think he was that kind of guy either. They initially signed him because they were afraid some other network might hire him as a late-night competitor for The Tonight Show. They let him try a sitcom just to keep him busy, and preview audiences hated it. The research report hangs on the wall of his home in Los Angeles.
This is the audience test on the pilot back in 1989. Pilot performance weak.
No segment of the audience was eager to watch the show again.
Here's another great line. Viewers felt that Jerry needed a better backup ensemble. Can you imagine a better backup ensemble in the world than those three people?
In the end, NBC stuck its neck out and ordered 4 episodes.
Which is the smallest number of episodes ever ordered by a network. 4. I mean, 6 is a slap in the face. 4 is like...
Don't quit your day job.
Yeah.
He lives here in L.A. most of the year, out of necessity, not choice. He gave us a tour of his 2-bedroom home on one of his rare days off, pining all the while for his native New York.
So you don't consider this home at all?
No, it's a giant hotel room. I'm on the road. I've been on the road here for 16 years.
The house itself gives away nothing. He calls it a waste of money. Furnished by a decorator, it speaks to the owner's lack of interest or lack of time. The couches look like they've never been dented. It's more antiseptic than homey.
Do you clean this yourself, or do you have a crew from the hospital come in every day and
I
scrub
clean
it
it.
down?
I spend half the day cleaning it.
Really?
Yeah, and the other half doing the show.
You could make microchips in here.
Hey, it's Jerry.
Hey.
Hey, Jerry. How you doing?
Seinfeld seems most at home here in his backlot office working with his show's writers, an elite mix of young television veterans who have worked at places like Letterman, Conan O'Brien, and Saturday Night Live.
Do you feel pressure to put out a good product? I mean, this is probably the best written show on television.
Probably. Probably.
They look as if they could be characters on their own show. Seinfeld says his writers are the next generation of TV executives, and many have already left to develop or run shows of their own.
Is there a tone?
It's bad things happening to selfish people. It's the easiest way to describe it.
You know, they always preach this thing of likability on TV. You've got to be likable. There's nothing likable about these characters.
No, they're shallow.
They're shallow.
Self-indulgent.
Mm-hmm.
Greedy.
Mean. Treacherous. They will plot and plan against each other, close friends, for some short-term gain. They're despicable.
Why do people like them?
They're funny.
The show's mean streak comes in large part from this man, its co-creator Larry David, the neurotic model for the George Costanza character. He began to whine about his bald spot and our camera angle even before the interview began.
The high overhead thing, I don't like it.
Until this last season, he was Jerry Seinfeld's partner and collaborator. Then, burned out and anxious to try something new, he quit, leaving Seinfeld on his own. Larry David has his own theory on why the audience loves some of the unprincipled characters he helped create.
It's the actors, because they're great actors and they can pull it off. This material in the hands of other actors, the show would be a disaster.
That material has included hilarious half-hours on unspeakable subjects that have worked because they've never been mentioned by name.
What's the matter?
My mother caught me.
Caught you? Doing what?
You know. I was alone.
You've done episodes on masturbation and oral sex, and you've been able to disguise all of it as family entertainment.
What
do
a
you do
scam.
How do you do it?
How do we do it? We're very good with language. I think it's funny to be delicate. with something that is explosive. The challenge of handling kind of like driving the nitro truck of material down a dirt road became the game for us.
Do you guys live together?
I knew you looked familiar. Oh, no!
Take The Outing, an episode on homosexuality. Because Jerry is thin, single, and neat, a reporter assumes that he and George are more than just good friends.
Now everyone's gonna think we're gay.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. And I said, that's the line. That's going to enable us to do this show. Not that there's anything wrong with it. If we say that every time, we'll be able to say something about political correctness and cover ourselves on the other side too.
So some of it is like figuring out the right way to take on some of these.
Yeah, that's fun. That's part of the game. It's like playing by the rules. That's what makes a game fun, is the rules. Without the rules, it's not fun.
One of the rules that Seinfeld breaks is the one that says the star gets all the good lines. And the Seinfeld cast, Michael Richards, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and Jason Alexander, have been the beneficiaries of Seinfeld's generosity.
I think one of the most amazing things he did from the beginning of the show is, unlike a lot of comics who come into a series, he was not hell-bent on making it a vehicle for himself.
You can see some people think. I don't see him think. Or I see him, it's almost like there's a machine going on back there. You can kind of tell it's working, but it doesn't reveal anything about himself.
He's a very smart guy because he's private and he keeps his privacy, and it's separate, it's mature, and I think that's why he's a stable person. So my guess is you're not going to get to see the really private part of him.
What we saw of Jerry's private life in February was very public, a long-time relationship with Shoshana Lonstein, a UCLA student half his age. They'd been tabloid fodder for the last 4 years.
There's just a nice relationship going on. We're happy. We have a good time. I think maybe it's because I'm so immature and she's so mature that we meet in the middle.
You think you're immature?
Oh, yeah.
In what ways?
Name one. Name one.
Sexually?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, I don't know.
What do you mean?
I'm embarrassed.
Huh?
I am not going to talk about being sexually immature on 60 Minutes.
But you think you are?
It's not 60 swinging minutes, you know.
Right, right. But you said name one, and I named one.
Okay, well, I'm 42 years old. I'm not married. That's not real mature. That's nothing to be proud of. You know, I should have settled down by now.
Are you going to get married?
Yes.
To Shoshana?
I hope. I don't know.
Have you asked her?
No.
Are you going to ask her
I'll get
today?
married. You know when I'll get married? I'll get married when somebody like John F. Kennedy Jr. gets married.
You got married?
Really?
Yeah. Are you married?
No. You're used to talking to too many liars.
Do you get upset?
Can we get some powder on my face? No. I'm sweating.
Come
in. Go ahead.
Do you think, God, did the tabloids drive you crazy?
No, I love it.
You do like it?
Yeah, they're
fun.
How
does Shoshana feel about it?
It was hard at first, but we got used to it. Can you use this?
Sure.
The tabloids are fine. They make up stuff, you know, and that's fine too. People that read tabloids, I think, deserve to be lied to.
What's the happiest you've ever been?
I guess now. I guess I would have to say now. I never thought I could do what I'm doing now. And I'm very proud of the fact that I believed in myself and that I turned out to have something because I didn't really know. And so the fact that I bet on myself and didn't lose is a pretty deep reward.
There was a question about whether or not the show would be back for a 9th season, but NBC reached for its checkbook and re-signed the cast to record contracts. Each of Seinfeld's co-stars will reportedly collect $13 million for their 9th season. Jerry and his cast will be together for another year, but Jerry and Shoshana won't be. That contract Seinfeld was unable to negotiate, and they've called it quits.
Did you ever hear the one about the New Yorker who, even in the best of times, was famous for focusing on life's little annoyances? A global pandemic hit, and here's the punchline, he turned into a pillar of optimism. So it goes for that titan of comedy, Jerry Seinfeld. Now 66, Seinfeld has halted his sold-out stand-up tour due to COVID. His latest successful show, Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, is also on hiatus. Like many of us, he's been sheltering at home with family. But that hasn't stopped him from doing what he's always done, helping himself to life's absurdities and meticulously spinning them into comedic gold. The observational comic, almost by definition, sees the world differently. We spent a day in September with Seinfeld and found out how he sees things in the year 2020.
Hey, John.
Nice to see you. Greeting Jerry Seinfeld can be uncomfortable under normal circumstances.
Want one of these? I don't know. That doesn't do anything.
Then you factor in COVID.
No more handshakes, no more hugs.
You're not into the elbows.
Nah. It's a poor substitute.
Are you seeing comedy in this mess?
I did write some things down. Oh, the thing about that the first thing they told us, remember, they don't say it anymore, but they said, don't touch your face. Okay, so we're going to stop the whole world, and you can't do this. But don't do this. How do you not do this when they tell you we're shutting down the world, but don't go, oh, my God. Oh, my God.
When we asked Seinfeld where he'd like to spend the day, he said Queens, halfway between his hometown of Massapequa, Long Island, and his current address in Manhattan. This park was the site of the 1964 World's Fair, which Seinfeld visited as a boy.
You know, the World's Fair was always about, we're going to perfect the world. It's going to be easy, and we're going to do it, and here's what we're going to do. And it's going to be great. And when you're 10 years old, you believe that. And I don't think that completely foolish optimism has ever left me.
We found Jerry Seinfeld downright upbeat to be out of the house and in front of a camera for the first time since COVID.
Are we okay with this?
Even with the aggravation of planes flying overhead.
Now we're in showbiz. Now we're back.
See, we thought they were going to call off the...
This is really being back. Hold for plane.
Show business has been his business for 5 decades. When 60 Minutes checked in with Seinfeld in the 90s, he was in the thick of his wildly successful sitcom.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jerry Seinfeld.
The series grew out of Seinfeld's observational style of stand-up.
Waterproof watch, that's important. Gee, I'm completely out of oxygen, and look at the time. Now I'm dead and I'm late.
He first honed his craft on Manhattan's comedy club circuit.
What was it like coming into the city to perform?
It was like when the doors open on the Emerald City in The Wizard of Oz. And I would gulp so hard. Oh my God, I'm going into the grown-ups place. And not just going in there, I'm gonna go on stage there.
Did it live up to your expectations?
Sure, still does. I am so madly in love with New York City. I didn't know how to be. And in New York, they say, this is how you do, this is what you do. Here's how to be. Be cranky and be loud and be funny and complain and suffer and make fun of everything and everybody. That's how you be.
This city he romanticizes, Seinfeld remembered seeing a miniature replica of New York at the World's Fair as a kid. The model is still on permanent exhibit at the Queens Museum, and since we were right there,
wow,
he wanted to take another look. We were allowed past the perimeter through a hidden entrance for a VIP perspective.
I guess this is the way God looks at things. My first apartment would be right there.
His civic pride is such that when a local comedy club owner posted an essay on LinkedIn this past summer claiming New York City would never bounce back from COVID, Seinfeld was moved to write a rebuttal.
Is New York dead?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking you.
When you were a kid, remember kicking over the anthill? That's what just happened to us. They just kicked over the whole anthill. And what do the ants do? All right, hand me the next crumb. Let's get back to work. And by the way, I have nothing against that guy. He's fine. I didn't like that nobody was rebutting it. And I realized, oh, I guess that's my job. Somebody, a real New Yorker has to answer this.
You called him some putz on LinkedIn.
I don't even know what LinkedIn is. That's who that guy is for the rest of his life. Oh, look who's here. The putz from LinkedIn.
But you felt the need to defend your turf?
I just don't want New Yorkism to die. I don't want it to be replaced by
what?
Deep concern and over-sentimentality. You can have those things, but be a little badass too. We don't care that things are tough. Everything's always tough. It's tough to live here.
Got a little blowback for that. That, oh, he's out in the Hamptons writing about New York. Did you expect that?
Sorry, I did better than you. My apologies.
Hash it over.
Got a laugh from the camera guy.
Getting a laugh was the ultimate currency for Seinfeld, growing up as he did in a middle-class Jewish household.
Were your folks funny?
Yes, my dad particularly. Wildly funny. Like if there'd be a fly would land on your soup, and somebody would go, ooh, and he'd go, how much could he eat?
What was their parenting style?
Complete neglect. Absolute, total neglect. It worked for me. It made me very independent. They were both orphans, so they had a natural independence.
Both your parents were orphans?
Yes.
What impact do you think that had on your family growing up?
It's fantastic. Complete self-reliance. That was expected. Now, you end up having to raise yourself in a lot of ways. I don't know how to hold a fork, or I can't make a sandwich. 18 years, not a hint of what to do.
For someone who couldn't make a sandwich, he's done all right.
I could see directly into the eye of the great fish. Mammal. Whatever.
Seinfeld the series has made more money in syndication than any other comedy.
Who's driving?
You are. I can't get that thing in my car.
My parents, they did not know where my school was.
In 2017, Seinfeld signed an estimated $100 million deal with Netflix to run 2 comedy specials and a series no streaming service wanted at first.
Why does comedians in cars getting coffee work?
I think it works because comedians don't like to chit-chat. We like to really talk about something.
People say disgusting things to me because they think I'll like it.
And I wanted to show this other part of my world, of hanging out with these people and how fun it is.
His latest project, the guy who famously did a show about nothing, has a new book titled, Is This Anything? Seinfeld explained that's what comedians ask each other when they're working on new material. Published by Simon & Schuster, part of Viacom CBS, the book is a primer on joke writing.
I'm not an autobiography kind of guy, but what I'm interested in is craft and technique and approach to doing an art. And being able to look at how these bits are built, you could kind of learn, oh, I see why that word is here.
Are there words that are objectively funny?
Oh, LinkedIn. Putz. I mean, LinkedIn, if I was to break it down, it's the K's and the N's and the L's, and it's new. And I mean, if you want me to go further, I will. You're taking a Yiddish word from the 18th century and you're putting it with LinkedIn. That's what a laugh is. It's a chemical explosion.
A little shtetl, little Silicon
little
Valley.
Shtetl, little internet. The Yiddish language is the greatest gold mine of comedy ever. Every word is funny.
Putz notwithstanding, Seinfeld has always kept his act clean.
The buffet is like taking your dog to Petco and letting your dog do the shopping.
At a time when many comedians have had to apologize for causing offense, he considers it part of his job description to accommodate changing standards.
What do you say to some of your colleagues who say, like, everyone's so sensitive, you can't joke about anything anymore?
They're always moving the gates, and you got to make the gates. And it is always difficult, changing, sometimes unfair, sometimes not right. Lenny Bruce dealt with what he had to deal with, and we have to deal with what we have to deal with.
It was time for a break in our interview, and Seinfeld focused his powers of observation on us.
Well, we got to do the walk and talk. You have to see people walking on 60 Minutes. We want to know can this person walk? Let's see it. I don't know why. You never do a thing on 60 Minutes without, watch them walk. Look at that, they're walking.
And
yeah,
sure enough,
it's so beautiful.
Seinfeld has spent the last 2 decades growing into another role.
Hello.
Hello, you look so perfect.
Thank you
Family man.
Very nervous here, Jerry.
He and his wife Jessica have 3 teenage children and lead a largely private life.
Are you wearing your white socks on TV? Oh.
Yeah.
She is more complimentary of his co-parenting skills.
Stand-up seems like such an individual sport. How is he as a teammate?
I will tell you that it was a slow build. It wasn't natural. And when we first had children, he had absolutely no idea what to do.
The look on their face was, is anyone helping you? Because I didn't seem to be connected to anything that was going on.
But you say he's hit a stride now that he's parenting teenagers.
He wasn't one of those dads who wore a front carrier. He grew up in the 50s, but now he is much better at this age than I am at this age.
Yeah, that's true. I never looked at it that way. We've kind of
switched roles.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Jessica runs Good Plus, a foundation she started almost 20 years ago as a used stroller and baby goods drive. Good Plus now helps 50,000 low-income families with a focus on engaging dads. And she does it despite some household distractions.
I think maybe that he misses being on stage, and when he and his friends are on the phone, they just yell. And it is something to live with.
You know, a lot of times when you could say the same thing louder, it's funnier when you say it louder. Why would you do that? It's stupid. Right?
Yeah, it's that.
With the home of his other great love just a few hundred yards away, we asked Seinfeld if he had considered putting in a bid this year when the New York Mets were up for sale.
I don't have the money.
Would you if you did?
No. Absolutely not. Why? Why? So I could have more people yelling at me on the street when they lose? The ultimate peak experience of a baseball game is a seat, a hot dog, and a beer. There's nothing above that.
He'll have to wait to sit in the stands with a hot dog, just as his fans will have to wait until the pandemic is over to watch Jerry Seinfeld perform in person.
This will be funny. Comedians will figure out what we can say and can't say when we get back in front of audiences.
How's this going to work?
I don't think it's going to work for a while. I don't like compromised versions of things. I want the real thing, the authentic thing. I want the pure hit. I want the real drug. I want real New York pizza. So I'll wait.